Why are these modalities important at this time? I'm sure we're going to talk about this a lot more in the tutorials. And this is a real piece of string question. And there are so many layers with which I could answer from. So I want to just actually simplify it right now and just say that we are in a massive age of what Tibetan Buddhists would call degeneration or degenerate ways. And things have become increasingly complicated, but complicated around the wrong stuff. And it was prophesied that there would be a time where conventional methods of things like meditation wouldn't stick. I think we're here, okay? And the distraction would be so huge. And I remember actually watching in a squat in Amsterdam the film Idiocracy about 12 years ago or something. It was very prophetic and very about now. And now that I'm making this recording, we're really in it, and we've got the whole COVID thing. So we've made everything really complicated, and of course it's perfect. It's an accumulation of debris. So not only are we bombarded with ringtones and really shit pop music and over busy schedules and too much material stuff around us, so there's clutter everywhere. But we also have a version of that within our thought forms and our fields. And so not only are we incessantly looping usually about silly, inane, mundane stuff, but we have an accumulation of people like our ancestors and the unresolved stuff along our family lines as well. And we're taught in energy medicine that there are fields where all our thought forms can sit. And as I explain in some of the other sharings, there is an unseen realm which holds all our thought forms and our consciousness and our emotions. We have different dimensions and different fields for those. And we didn't really necessarily have guidance about that when we grew up, nor did our direct ancestors. So people have a propensity for starting projects that they didn't complete, talking about stuff without knowledge that the word is sacred, or without a knowledge of the power of words as sacred vibration, and a lot of caustic, neurotic, over-the-top behaviour and thought forms have been created. And I can give an example even of the concept of things like curses. Curses exist and they have different ways of existing, but one of them is just where a person starts thinking badly of someone, and it can get and really kind of projects like, I wish something would happen, blah 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 blah, and how that can create something awful for people, or not just one person but for the whole family. And this used to happen a lot, and people, again, in history, in previous timelines, they didn't seem to care about the consequences of their actions. They were not aware necessarily of karma, and it was all very well to curse somebody who took a bit of land or had it a bit extra, and to wish it on their family line. And we work with people daily who are dealing with this, who have crazy stuff that happens. And in some native tribes that I work with, there's curses that happen, and it can happen to people who come in, who drink ayahuasca, and the guy next door is jealous because the punters have gone over somewhere else, and all sorts of stuff comes over. And there are also other curses that are sent in other circumstances, and black magic and things. But most of this is just thought forms. And there's possibly a degree of naivety about how crazy that becomes, because people are so invested in lower chakra responses that things escalate. And so we have an accumulation of all of those as well in our field. And these things are a testament to the reality that thought forms travel and can travel through things and objects and time. And I'm not trying to scare anybody here with curses, because the thing is, they can just be cleared, okay? And a lot of these things are just a wonky thought form that needs to be cleared, okay? So it's important that we start to slow ourselves down. Every time we get a bit cocky and overspeak something or overcreate something and put it in motion and don't complete, we're kind of creating wobbliness that will need to get cleared somewhere. So it's good hygiene for us to be more tidy with our thoughts. But we're in this age of degeneration and distraction. So that's why using quantum modalities can be really helpful, because we start to clean up. Because we're basically like these huge computers full of old wonky data, and most of it's slowing down the machine and doesn't need to be there. So that is one reason why it's really important, because we're kind of at peak wonky. Well, we think we're at peak wonky. We might have some more wonky to go. But the more we can clean the stuff that's not relevant to who we want to be in our highest aspirations and what we've come for, and if we can clear that, then we're going to help the mission. And as we'll be discussing through the training, that sits in many fields. So some of it's coming through our DNA, both our physical DNA and our DNA layers. Then some of it is generational parts. Some of it is thought forms. Some of it is conditioning. Some of it's karma. Some of it's soul imprint stuff, past life stuff. So we will be starting to map these different places that these things consider. And some things are residual patterns from something that happened, and maybe we created a synaptic loop and then we keep deferring to that. Or sometimes it's just something that everybody did around us and it's become ingrained. So this is why these things are really important, because we are now on a very cluttered planet, because it's a mirror. And the more we can clean up, not only are we helping this incarnation and that of our loved ones and our family members and our Sangha, but we are helping to create a cleaner inner landscape, an outer way of being, because it will lessen the monkey mind. Because we're also going to, as we remove patterns and programs, we're going to find there's a lot less of these wonky programs whirring around and keeping us stuck in the mundane. And this is at this time that we're in. We've been shown, we've been put into lockdowns and things like that. And if you're watching this a few years later, this was made after a year of the lockdowns. So this has all been perfect for those who wish to look at how they distract themselves, how they're on these loops, how they are picking up stuff that their family did, and it's creating unhappiness. So that is why we're at this critical time, because this time's been prophesized in many, many lineages. And in some, they would say we're stepping into a golden age. And never has it been more important. And if we look at the situation with our environment, we have possibilities of cataclysms, things like that. The children to come have a lot of challenges to come. So for us to do as much housework as we can, to not just hand them over a really dirty, untidy bedroom, but to say, we've done our bit, what we can, while we're clearing up the computer so that everything's more smooth running for when you guys are going to run with it. So we're doing our bit, and we can work with those realms. And that's why in the beautiful divine way of things happening, of course it would happen now that we would start to understand how to work with these things. Now we have this beautiful convergence of indigenous science and scientific rigor saying the same things, which of course indigenous people and Buddhists and people have known for millennia. And now the scientists are like, yes, there is a quantum universe. Yes, epigenetics is a thing. So we are perfectly poised, and that's because it's the perfect time to have a quickening, so that we don't have to go one therapy session, we do a little thing, you come back for 40 years, you spend a lot of money and you get a little bit better. Where now this will all continue to speed up and we need to do our little bit. And yeah, it's here. We're in the time, and I'm sure modalities like this will be adapting in the coming years, because we'll get more insights, and as we work together and find the way it works for us, that's going to help as well. So we are here bringing in the golden age, and our little bit, if we can do this and our training and holding space and doing this, also within some of the prophecies that I will be sharing and have shared along the way, we're on a countdown with the genome to upgrade into a higher genetic. And modalities like this are some of the tools that we deploy to help us to do that. And the more of us who do that, even in small groups, because we're utilizing a consciousness stream that's more powerful and higher in a way, will be able to help to engineer for the greater good liberation into the coding and more Zen-like qualities and less obscurations that are predicated around sexual desire and material stuff and low vibe conflict. So there are so many reasons to do this at this moment, and these are only just a tiny few that I've named here. But it's just to try to inspire you to see that the time is now, and we have this beautiful opportunity, especially when we work together, to beam our consciousness stream out as we do these sessions and to dedicate them to those who are not fortunate enough just yet to have access to such tools and awarenesses. But every time we do something, and remember, the auntie who cursed so-and-so, she didn't have the awareness. We're all here just doing our little bit, and it all brings us to the same place in the end. So if we can dedicate our practice, and this is what we do, certainly in Buddhism, is we dedicate things to try to make sure that this is assisting all sentient beings, then going a little bit fast as a group of trainees with some clients is actually one of the best things we can be doing at this time to assist the quickening, to help to alleviate suffering for all beings. So, very glad we're on this flying carpet together and look forward to weaving soon. Take care. Bye-bye.